Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending. My name is Jim Canfield from Champion Solutions Group. Purpose of today's call is to do a brief overview of the Azure Enterprise Mobility Suite, a recent release from Microsoft. For some of you on the phone who have possibly had some conversations about EMS, some of this will probably be a little bit of review. For others who are unfamiliar with EMS, our goal here is to touch on the primary functions of Enterprise Mobility Suite. And as we go through, feel free to ask any questions in the chat windows. We will be addressing them at the end. If we don't get to all of them, we will respond via email. As well, at the end, we will take you into the Enterprise Mobility Suite or the Azure environment where you manage the Enterprise Mobility Suite, look at the interfaces for application authentication, overview of rights management, overview of Intune, etc. So without further ado, we now have somewhere approaching about 60 people in the meeting, so we're going to go ahead and get it kicked off. So thanks again for joining. A little bit about our agenda today is basically a little bit about Champion and MessageOps. Champion Solutions Group. We also are the proud owner of MessageOps, a company that develops tools specifically focused on taking the best advantage of Office 365. We're then going to talk in depth about the Enterprise Mobility Suite made up of three components: rights management, Active Directory rights management, Intune for mobile device management, as well as desktop management, and finally Azure Active Directory Premium, which is a solution specifically focused on allowing you to deliver a single point of authentication, aka single sign-on, to your premise and cloud applications, SaaS or other deliverables. We'll then take a look into the environment, take a look at some of the applications that we currently have integrated, applications you can integrate, etc. And then finally at the end we will go through any questions. So with that, a little bit about Champion and MessageOps. We've been in business since 1979. As you can see, we have a reasonably strong Microsoft partnership. We have been Partner of the Year in multiple categories over the last 5 years. We are a gold level partner in multiple offerings, as well as being a silver partner in other areas such as application development, etc. As I said, we've been around since 1979. We also have long-term relationships with other companies, IBM, VMware, etc. And like I said, we're a $100 million firm founded in '79. Moving on, the vision. What we hope is our vision is that the environment, or the world as IT knows it, is quickly being looked at from different points of view, and what we have done is we've categorized them into 5 major areas. One is mobility. Okay, simple fact of whatever device your end users want to use, our job needs to be to give them access to whatever data they need on whatever device they have, while maintaining the integrity and security of our corporate data. 2, virtualization. Virtualization has been around for a good number of years, starting in the RS-6000, then VMware, etc. We're now doing a great deal with both desktop and application, and of course operating system virtualization. And again, the intent is to take that desktop experience and deliver it to the iPad, for lack of a better word, you taking advantage of virtualization technologies. Cloud. Okay, everybody's talking about the cloud. Bottom line is that when you're looking at cloud offerings, and whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Google or others, okay, you're looking at the ability to take advantage of economies of scale while maintaining control, ownership, encryption capabilities, etc. of your data, but reduce your ongoing charges, reduce your 3-year, 4-year, 5-year spend when you're replacing. So it's something that's absolutely worth a look at, whether you do it from a hybrid perspective, extend your network into the cloud, or other methodologies. Collaboration, that's what it's all about. Okay, one of the reasons that Champion and MessageOps, we've moved 2+ million partner of record seats to Office 365, helped migrate more than 3 million, is Office 365, email, SharePoint, Link, whatever. Touch each of the end users. End users get it. They get it quickly. It reduces, from an IT perspective, the grief and havoc we go through with maintaining these environments, and it allows us to look at email, Link, or IM, etc. We get to look at these as electric bills, as utilities. And for the last 4 or 5 years, Microsoft has done a reasonably outstanding job meeting or exceeding their published service level agreements. Are they perfect? No. But when I find the perfect hosting company, I'll let you know I haven't done it. And then finally, IT people. We've all been doing this for however many years. Okay, our focus needs to be changing a little bit from maintenance, maintaining availability of systems, to empowering our users to take better advantage of the $1, $10, $1 million, hundreds of millions of dollars that we've spent in the last few years on these IT infrastructures. And instead of getting 10, 20, 30% utilization out of an application, let's move it up the line to 50, 60, 70 to better take advantage of these applications that we're spending a lot of money on annually. So those are the mega trends. That's where we're trying to get more bang for the buck while improving or increasing the company's ability to measure and deliver revenue. Okay, and Microsoft and a number of the major consulting firms, the Gartners of the world, the Forresters, etc., are trying to take some pictures of what it's going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, and some of these numbers are rather startling. The one that sort of takes me away is the 900+ million tablets by 2017. My organization, we have 250 employees. I think 100 of us are already all towards the tablet or moving in that direction, getting rid of the desktop and or the laptop, and we're just moving towards the Surface. We have people that are using Galaxies. We have people that are even using iPads. So it needs to be, who cares? It needs to be, bring your own device. We need to embrace it, and that's where we're going with, and Enterprise Mobility Suite will do a lot towards getting us there. So this is a bit repetitive, but it sort of puts into perspective what we want to do. Users, whatever device, applications, whatever applications, and wherever the data is, let's get it to them, but be able to prove who did what, where, when, and why, and be notified if all of a sudden George, who lives in New York City, all of a sudden starts trying to log in from Hong Kong or Tucson, Arizona, or something, such that we can quickly reply to something that's out of the norm. So the Enterprise Mobility Suite, okay, this is a Microsoft release. It was released last calendar year, is made up of 3 primary components from Microsoft. I mentioned them earlier. I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. Identity management, okay, the ability to know who you are, the ability to be able to prove it, the ability to allow you to authenticate into multiple applications. That's called Azure Active Directory Premium. It is natively integrated into Active Directory, yours. It is replicated to an Active Directory instance in Azure, and then it is overlaid to allow you to integrate into SaaS-based applications, back to premise for browser or FAT applications, back to premise for Citrix applications, etc. Okay. It also provides some additional benefits that many of our clients are very happy about. The number one by far is self-service password reset. So the good news is I know nobody on the call has users who ever forget their passwords, either for Active Directory or any of the applications you're supporting. So this is a method through which you can deliver a browser-based reset my password, tell me what color my hair is and who my favorite dog was when I was a kid or whatever. Number 2 is Windows Intune. Windows Intune is a solution that Microsoft has had on the market for, gosh, five years. And for all intents and purposes, Windows Intune is browser-based or cloud-based system center for desktop management. Additionally, and over the last year, what they've done is they've enhanced its capabilities as it relates to mobility or mobile device management, whether that's the iOS, Android, or Windows mobile devices. And what Microsoft has done from a Windows perspective is they've got the MDM, Mobility Device Management, who can log in, when they can log in, where they can log in, and what services they can have. They've also added the additional layer of MAM, or Mobile Application Management. Yes, I knew I could get it out. And what that allows you to do is to look at the devices and to segregate the personal, the pictures of my dog, the pictures of my kids, my personal email, from the corporate data, both from a data perspective, email perspective, file share, etc., but also through the application of what applications are supported, what applications do we allow our users to install on their mobile device management, and through what's called containerization. There's a clear separation between the personal data and the corporate data. So in the event that George, my favorite employee of all time, resigns or is let go, you then have the ability to go into the Intune environment, disable his account, and it will go out and it will wipe the corporate data from his or her device. And it doesn't matter if it's, again, iOS, Windows, or Android, without deleting his or her pictures, the only existing pictures of their puppy from their trip to the Grand Canyon or something. So finally, the third piece of the pie is called Azure Rights Management, or RMS, Rights Management Service. Rights Management Service has been in Active Directory for a long time. The ability to apply policies, whether in exchange or down to and including shares, of who can open files, who can send files in, out, etc. of the organization. It's always been a reasonably high maintenance rollout, and it's also a relatively dangerous rollout if you don't do it correctly, for the simple fact that you can push a button and apply a rights management policy that locks everybody out of the organization from a file perspective, and it can be a challenge to undo it. So rights management is something that you need to start with slowly. Like in our case with our clients, what we're doing is we're literally focusing on data more or less in the SharePoint, OneDrive environments. And the first step, no matter what we do when we do rights management, is we create an account totally separate from Active Directory with full admin rights, document it, put it away so it's safe, but it gives us that level of separation and that additional level of security. Enterprise Mobility Suite is something that is purchasable through your current enterprise agreement, as well as Microsoft has recently made it available through what's called MOSPOP. That's the Microsoft Online Portal, where partners like Champion or Microsoft directly can bill you on a monthly recurring basis. Okay, or you can add it to any open license contracts you may have in place. So what they've done is they've taken the enterprise agreement requirement away from Enterprise Mobility Suite to make it easier for organizations to put their hands around it. Now, when we're talking about Enterprise Mobility Suite, this slide basically its goal is to take the original image of users, devices, BYOD, and then allow for the application of EMS, which gives you the real-time management, understanding of who's doing what, where, when, and why, okay, as well as overlaying from a rights management perspective through the mobile device management application, who can do what to what file, what emails can be sent, what emails can't be sent, etc., okay, such that you can get a whole understanding of the picture and simplify your end user's experience. We've all, and excuse me for speaking for you, but we've all probably managed a VPN infrastructure. VPN infrastructure is an extremely good way to allow users to access whatever data from wherever. but it's a high maintenance environment, a lot of updates, and every environment, whether it's a Macintosh or a PC or God knows what, has a different client and there's different versions, and my VPN solution only supports up to version 8.12 or whatever. It's annoying. With the Enterprise Mobility Suite, what they've done is they've simplified it in that you go to the portal. You go to the portal.microsoft or portal.office.com. You log into it. You, as an organization, choose, do I want to, is login name and password enough? Yes, no. If not, do I want to add a third factor? One of my favorite third factors is my cell phone, okay? When I go into a portal, I go into a Starbucks or I go into any other device and I go to log into my email account or I go into log into any other application, what happens is I put in my login name, I put in my password, I hit enter, I then receive a phone call from an automated phone call that says, please enter, in my case, pound, which is the default, to authenticate. Using my cell phone as that third token, okay? You can do one-time use text code. It supports things like RSA tokens and other company tokens, etc. But for all intents and purposes, how many of your employees find themselves without their cell phones for very long, okay? And there are ways to get around it if you choose to allow it, or you would ask them a couple of questions if they don't have their cell phone, etc. But most organizations, that's not really a big deal. So, and that adds that additional layer of security without or negating the need to support that VPN environment, okay? And then through the Enterprise Mobility Suite and through Azure Active Directory Premium, you can then publish those applications, which I'll show you as we go forward, to them from whatever platform they're at. So a little of the detail on Azure Active Directory Premium, okay? I consider this to be the quote-unquote flagship application of the EMS suite. It's the one that's getting, in my experience, and it may be that I grew up as a security guy with IBM for 10 years, but it seems to be the one that most of my clients are jumping on and really looking to take advantage of. What it is it's an Azure hosted environment. It integrates into Active Directory. I know you guys can read. I know the text is small, so I apologize. But if you, and you'll see this, when we go into the Azure environment, out of the box, it supports over 2,400 applications. You name the application, Oracle, Citrix, whatever, we'll find it in there, or most of it, okay? Excuse me. Obviously, it leverages your Active Directory, and the value there is two things. One, you create a group. We'll call the group Salesforce, okay? Within the Salesforce group, or within a Salesforce environment, you will have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 different user profiles. Azure Active Directory Premium, as it applies to Salesforce.com and about 40 or 50 other applications, not only does it do the authentication, it will actually do the user provisioning. And just as important, or possibly more importantly, when George leaves the company, we go into Active Directory, we disable George's account. It goes out to the Salesforce and said, we're paying $100 a month for the Salesforce for George, and it disables his account, thus ending that $100 a month pay for George. And a lot of organizations that I deal with, especially a lot of organizations that have 5 or 10 or 25 or 50 cloud-based applications, which is where a lot of applications are going, they'll have, we own 50 licenses. We only have 30 people using it. The other 20 people were paying an extra $20 a month or $10 a month. Nobody really cares until you do 20 times 10 times 12, and it comes out to real money. So that's where the Azure Active Directory Premium can not only simplify and strengthen the authentication methods, but help to maintain what you're spending on a monthly, annual basis for these types of applications, okay? Monitoring and protecting, okay? Long and short of it is it utilizes learning, okay? So my employees normally log in from 7 a.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. They typically log in from whatever region they typically log in from. Occasionally, someone will log in from New York or Los Angeles or Taiwan. Well, I want to know about that. So as an administrator, all of a sudden somebody logs in from Taiwan who normally logs in from New York. I get an email that says, hey, this user has logged in. This is an anomalous login pattern, okay? It tells me, and then I can determine if I want to do something about it, okay? It is a very easy to use, easy to maintain, easy to monitor solution, and you can create your own levels of rules. So you can also determine which applications you will or will not make available to which parts of the world. So it fully takes advantage of Active Directory Federation, or ADFS, which is part of the Server 2003, 8, 12 environment, such that you can go to the next level and say users in this group can only log in from 8 a.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. and this is the only accepted area. I mean, you can get very granular into who and when and where they can log in, okay? And you have the ability to customize and deliver an organizationally branded portal for your users to log in. And as part of that, there's the ever popular forgot my password. Okay, they click on the forgot my password. It will then challenge them with, give us your cell phone, give us your eye color. You have the ability to create multiple rules, and you have the ability to define how many variables they have to answer properly to reset their password. So, and an overview of how it operates. And from left to right on your screen, obviously you've got your Active Directory, okay? We then utilize federation services, whether we're using hash-based password synchronization out to the cloud, or if we're actually using ADFS to deliver full two-way Active Directory updates and upgrades. That's a business decision based on how many variables of AD you need to pull back from the cloud, okay? Certain organizations I deal with, one of the AD variables they always have to track is last login time, okay? They have GPOs based on last login time, and if the last login time exceeds 30 days, that account is automatically disabled or locked. And in their case, initially we were not using Active Directory Federation services, and since we've moved all of their users up to authenticating through O365, we've then since had to add Active Directory Federation in. There were multiple reasons for it, but we replaced a couple of other authentication mechanisms they were using, etc. I mean, there's a real good business reason for it. But point is that with Active Directory Federation, we then have the ability to connect to foreign directories very easily, SAML, forms, etc., as well as taking full advantage and two-way replication of all changes within Active Directory. Okay. And sometime in the next month or two, Microsoft will be delivering their replacement for FIM, Forefront Identity Manager, okay, with MIM, because we needed another acronym in our lives. We don't have enough. MIM is Microsoft Identity Manager. Microsoft's goal with MIM is to leverage AD, leverage ADFS, leverage Azure Active Directory Sync, and then as a, for lack of a better word, a central mechanism for user provisioning and identity management, the MIM is going to overlay all of that and allow you to, no matter what application, where, foreign directory, primary directory, whatever directory, don't matter, we will be able to provision and centrally manage access to any application through that MIM environment while continuing to leverage the pre-done stuff in in Azure Active Directory, etc. Now, we do a sync, dir sync. You may have heard it as AD sync, Azure Active Directory sync. At the end of the day, what it does is it does a one-way synchronization of email-enabled Active Directory objects and groups, etc., up to Azure. Now, at that point, you now have the ability to log into an Azure tenant, make changes to users, etc., create or edit, add people to groups, to edit, etc., but it is not a complete Active Directory domain controller. It's a limited AD with specific functionality. Now, all changes are made at your local AD, and they're replicated up into the Azure environment. And then they're applied to the different applications that you're allowing users access to through Azure Active Directory. Then you're adding users into AD for mobile devices. Okay, this is an Apple user or an iOS mobile device. This is an Android. This is a Windows, whatever. You add them to that. It automatically gets replicated up through EMS into Intune. And any rights management policies, again, managed from an ADF or from an AD perspective, replicated into Azure Active Directory and made applicable by group, etc. Through Azure and through Azure Active Directory, we have the ability to connect to external directories. Could be SAP, it could be a Salesforce.com, but to use SAML authentication or other secure methods for connecting to these foreign directories for user provisioning, user authentication. Okay. Finally, if you're an Office 365 company, you have access to Azure Active Directory now. It's the free version, doesn't support groups. You have access to basic rights management that only supports Windows or, sorry, Office file types. And you have access to ActiveSync-based mobile device management. So, and what this allows you to do is extend and enhance Active Directory's role in your organization from authentication, authorization, accounting, who did what, where, when, and now we're going to the next step of utilizing it as the primary central point for identity management in all of our applications, no matter what platform. So it's not something that's going to happen in a week, but it is happening. A little bit about Intune. Okay, Intune supports all the major flavors. Okay, Intune gives you and separates your data between personal data and corporate data. I know I've talked about this a little bit. Interesting fact that surprised me actually when I heard it is Intune was the first mobile device management solution to support iOS 8 when it came out. They beat all of the majors by weeks because of the containerization that I mentioned earlier where they separate it. The thing about Intune is there's no agents. There's no mobile device management agents that have to be installed on the endpoints. Okay? All of the separation is done in the Intune arena. Okay? And that differs itself from the major players in the world, the Masses, the AirWatches, etc. There are things that MAS 360 and AirWatch still do that are different and or better than Intune, but Intune is being seriously looked at as a real replacement for those applications. And the nice part is if you're an Office 365 account, if you're not, you can set up a 90-day demo to work with it. We do this with clients on a regular basis so they compare it to the $100 a year they're spending for AirWatch or whatever to what they would get in Intune. And if they're an Office 365 client, as of yesterday, Microsoft officially announced that mobile management, Intune mobile management, is included with your Office 365 subscription. So this is being rolled out over the next 4 to 6 weeks globally. So it will show up in your tenant if you're an Office 365 client over the next few weeks. So that was officially announced yesterday. And Intune, as I said earlier in the call, Intune is a cloud-based system center specifically focused for desktops. Now, something I say and something I believe is that Intune helps reduce the overhead that goes with a system center premise implementation. System Center is unbelievably capable and comprehensive for managing servers, monitoring networks, managing software distribution, all kinds of cool stuff. But when you build a System Center environment, it can be rather significant in size and infrastructure requirements, etc. So what Microsoft did was they actually separated the desktop management piece from System Center, and they built the Intune world. Now, when they did that, what that did was reduce the focus, reduce the infrastructure requirements, etc. for System Center to allow you to do best possible management of your virtual environments, whether it's VMware or Hyper-V or Citrix. Manage the operating systems, the network operating systems that are on those servers, the applications that are running within them, and help to orchestrate the best possible high available solution. Again, it doesn't matter what your virtual or physical platform is, there are plugins that will cover just about anything. And then you take Intune, because desktop management for as long as there have been desktops has been a big pain in the neck. Okay, desktop updates, upgrades. I mean, back in the good old days with DOS 3.31 and 4 and 5, for those of you that were around that long, and I'm one of those, you got an update every 6, 9, 12 months, whether you asked for one or not. And it really wasn't. Now with Microsoft, we get an update every 17 seconds, and I'm being facetious, but point is that what Intune allows us to do, okay, one, if you're a System Center user on-premise, great. We then do a native integration of Intune to System Center. You still manage the desktops through the System Center console, but the work, the monitoring, the management, software distribution, yada, 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 is all handled and delivered through the Intune cloud, okay, such that all of the servers, all of the agents, all of the devices that you would have rolled out to your 1 or 2 or 102 remote locations to manage this type of desktop environment are now being handled from the cloud. Now, for those of you that have branches that have slower internet connections, etc., we do have the ability to extend it back to premise and use local resources. There are ways around it. But the point is that the investment you have in System Center, great. The investment that you could consider an enterprise mobility suite and plug those two together, you can take your smartest resources and allow them to focus on better delivery of applications, better management of applications, better availability of the line of business applications, because God knows email is the most important thing in the world, sure. It doesn't deliver much revenue. Our focus needs to be on revenue generating applications and how we can make our companies generate more revenue. So that's the overall strategy for Intune. It supports the hybrid capabilities, etc. Then there's rights management. Azure Rights Management is at the file, it is at email, it is at the share, and it is all rolling back up into Active Directory. Rights management gives you the ability to understand the types of files that are out there, to apply security rules to them based on who's creating them within your organization, from an executive group, from an engineering, from a sales and marketing, etc. You can then apply policies to them and or allow users to individually assign access rights at the file, folder, or email level, okay? Of late, in the last couple of months, this has been extended out to the Android and the iOS. For those of you that are running either Apple or Droids, you may or may not have seen the recent announcements where Microsoft has made the Office OWA, basically the web apps, available to those platforms through your respective stores. They also announced yesterday that all operating systems for devices 10 inches, not 10.1, 10 inches and under for Windows 10 will be free. So we can see where they're going with the Office, most popular software application in the history of the world, I think, other than BASIC. You have the ability to empower users to make sure data they have is secure without having to retrain them on everything they do. So we apply basic policies. We apply basic public policies. What files from where in my organization should or should not be allowed to go outside of my organization, okay? And bottom line is that a lot of data gets out there that shouldn't be out there. A certain percentage of it happens because of social engineering, hacking, and all the other really cool, wacky terms that we hear, but I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's a significant percentage. I've seen it from as high as 50% to as low as 20%. users make mistakes. Okay, I accidentally sent out the payroll spreadsheet. I mean, I'm just using that as the most ridiculous example, but point is that I could easily share a file through OneDrive, through Box, Dropbox, you name Citrix file, share file, I don't care. I could easily share a PowerPoint presentation or a proposal or something with you. And I send you a link, and you click on the link, and you go, and you go, wow, there's the cool file. Neat, you download it, or you open it, and you edit it, whatever rights I give you to that link, okay? And then tomorrow, I'm working with my CFO, and we're doing whatever we're doing with the famous payroll spreadsheet. And instead of saving it to my super secret directory, I accidentally put it to the directory next to it, which happens to be the one that I shared with you, okay? Active Directory rights management gives you the ability, based on the file, to apply rights because we're working on it and it's heavy compliance, CFO, whatever. When I accidentally put it in the wrong directory and you go to look at the file that we've been working on and all of a sudden you see that payroll.xls, okay, you're my best friend. I've known you since we were 7, okay? First thing you're going to do is click on the file probably. And right after you've clicked on the file and you look at it, you're going to call me and you go, Jim, you screwed up. You sent me this file you probably shouldn't have. Okay? That's because you're my friend. Hopefully, that's what would happen. Now, my preference is if I did that, I make that mistake, you go to double-click on the file, because we all would. It's not mean or we're trying to be thieves. It's curiosity. What the experience with RMS is that when you double-click on a file, it pops up and it asks you to authenticate into my Active Directory domain, okay? Obviously, you don't have that right, okay? I didn't do anything special, okay? All I did was accidentally copy a file from the wrong into the wrong directory. So that's what I consider to be an extremely practical application of rights management, and I think there's a lot of people that have probably been through not too dissimilar experiences. Now, let's talk practicality a little bit. EMS package. It's made up of Azure, AD Premium. It's made up of rights management, and it's made up of Intune, okay? If you look at the components separately, you're looking at $6 for AD Premium, $2 for rights management, and about $4 for Intune. If you purchase the suite together, you're at $7.60 a month per user to start. As I said earlier, you can buy it on your EA, and depending on your pricing, etc., from an EA, the pricing will go down a little bit. You can also purchase it on a month-to-month, like from Champion. We do this all the time for clients. And Microsoft has an offer that's going right now. It's good, as far as I know, through the end of May. And their goal is to help clients adopt EMS, okay? Whether you choose to spend your time focused on AD Premium for single sign-on, rights management for file right access, etc., or mobility, Intune. And AD Premium and Intune are the two that most people are spending most of their time getting their hands around and those are the ones that we're spending the most time helping clients get done. But what Microsoft has done is they've put some money aside, okay? If you buy 150, you guys can read, there's up to $20,000 if you commit to 1,000 licenses, etc. So they're putting their money where their mouth is. They see this as the future. They honestly believe that this will do nothing for them except continue to make AD that central phone book, make companies that have perhaps resisted using AD as a central authentication point, rethink it. But point of the matter is that their goal is to make everything authenticate through AD, and this is going to the next level. So the next step is a brief demo. The screen that you're looking at is what's called My Apps, myapps.microsoft.com. Any of you that are in Office 365 today, you can go to myapps.microsoft.com. You can log in. You will see a similar screen. Now, when I click on it, okay, it will take me to My Apps because I embedded a hyperlink. Now, it's not the same screen that you just saw because I added some apps since I took the screenshot. But what this is This is a browser-based single point of authentication solution for you to take a look at. And in here, you see you've got your applications. You've got groups. So if I wanted to, if I was an administrator, I could literally go in and add users to groups, etc. I can also respond to and ask for approval to get into other applications that may show up but I don't have access to. Finally, under Profile, I have the ability to put in pretty pictures, contact information, yada, yada, yada. I can also change my password and or register for password reset. Now this is the ugly interface, okay? But it works very well. You can put as many applications in here as you want. Users have the ability to add or see what applications they want or don't want, and they can move the order around if you give them the ability to do that. Now, you'll notice that I have like QuickBooks Online. I have Salesforce. I have Office 365. Now, some of these applications are natively integrated into Azure Active Directory Premium such that if I click on the link, okay, it will automatically authenticate me and log me in and take me to the application. Others, so an example, I'm going to just use Salesforce as an example. If I wanted to go to Salesforce, I can click on the icon, bang, 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 it's doing a SAML authentication, and now I am logged into my Salesforce.com account. Okay? Going back, whoops, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Going back, for applications like Autotask. Autotask is a utility that we use in-house for project management, billing, etc. If I wanted to go to Autotask, and I've never logged into Autotask before, I can click on it. It will pop it up in a new browser, and it will challenge me for my login name. Now, people will think, wow, what a horrible hole. And I understand exactly what you just said. I'm putting in my login name and I'm putting in my password. Now, what it is doing is saving that login name and password up into my Active Directory account. Okay? Based on my profile in my desktop profile is whether or not I have access to save passwords in the browsers. Point is that whether I'm here or I'm in another browser, I log in, that login name and password are saved up there. Okay, that's the two different experiences when you're talking about how you're authenticating. SAML, this gives you native pass-through authentication, and in the case of Salesforce, you have the ability to roll out users in the same breath. Okay, now when you look at Office 365, okay, and now I'm going to switch to the Office 365, and yes, I did do prep. I had browser windows open. If I go into Office 365, this is Outlook Web Access right here. In the upper left-hand corner of every 365 screen is something called the waffle. Okay, the waffle is, because it's got 9 dots, very creative naming, and what it gives me here is all of the applications that I have access to. These top 6 or 7 or 8, those are all Office 365 applications. Okay, then I have Dynamic CRM, I have QuickBooks, Salesforce, and if I choose to, I can click on the My Apps right here. Come on. Thank you. And then it will show me, like all of these apps on the top, those are Office 365 delivered. These other ones down here are other applications that I've delivered. Now I can choose to click on the little thingy, and I can choose to have it show up on the waffle or not. Okay. Behind the scenes, we have the ability to tell these applications to open in a new tab or not, etc. I mean, these are all types of things that can be decided. Okay, and that's the waffle. Now, adding applications to My Apps, okay, is handled through Azure. Okay, and I thought I was logged into Azure. Guess I'm not. All right. So if I go to Windows Azure, and I go to my portal, and I click on portal. It's an amazing requirement. Come on, let me in. Thank you. I am now logging into my CSG Azure. This is my demo environment portal. Okay. Momentarily, what will come up are all of the different Azure services that I have access to within my portal. Okay, based on user access, user accounts, some or all of these options, and it basically you've got your all items. These are all the services I currently have operational. Okay, and I'm going to go down to Active Directory because everything we've been talking about here is from an authentication perspective. So if I go to Active Directory, here's my CSG AD. This is replicated from my on-premise domain controller. Okay, and I click in it, and this is again the demo account, a test dev. We blow it up on a regular basis, so if something wacky happens, you guys can laugh at me. But under here, it's going to show me my users from AD, groups, etc. Now, as I go across, you've got applications, multiple domain support, directory integration, etc. Under applications, this is where you monitor, manage, modify, edit, whatever, Active or Azure Active Directory applications. So I have a number of applications that are in here, okay? And you'll notice everything from App Dynamics, Autotask, the one I showed you a moment ago, down to, that's a SharePoint on my premise, share file, go to meeting, down to and including Salesforce, SAP, etc. Oh, the application I don't want is here, or I want is not here. Great. I can click on the add. Now I have three choices. I can add an application we're developing on-premise, SaaS or FAT, and then I determine the authentication mechanism and how do I get to it, whether it's Citrix or other. I can add one of the pre-done applications, which I will click on in a second, or, and this is very cool, publish an application that currently is only available either via VPN or from inside the network. You then have the ability to make that application available to your users without VPN client. But I'm going to go back to the app from in a gallery. So if I go to the application from a gallery, as I said, there's 2,400 whatever, and long and short of it, they're broken down by types, etc., travel, and yada, yada, yada. So if I type, I'll just type Oracle. Let's see what we got. Okay, we've got several Oracles. If I've got Taleo, I think that's there. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Point is these are, oh, it's an Oracle one, sorry. But point is that you've got 100 different CRMs, etc. So I want to add we're going to add this one. I never heard of it. So now we have a couple of choices to make here. When we pick an application, it will then take us to the configuration screen. It is currently adding Aravo. I do not know what Aravo does, so if anybody out there does, that'd be great. Now, you have the ability to configure single sign-on. You also, whoops, stop clicking on things. You also have the ability to assign users. So if I configure the single sign-on, I have two choices. Do I want to do a password single sign-on? What this means is that Aravo does not have SAML authentication configured. Okay, so the choices are the first time you logged in, just like I showed you the example before, you would put in your login name and password, or you would put in an administrator login name and password, and then the user would automatically be connected. Alternatively, if you may already have an existing federation between your organization and that client, you can use the existing one as well. Okay, and then you put on the sign-in URL, hit yes, you're good to go. Okay. Now, I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to go back here for a second, and I'm just going to select on one of the applications that we have here and wait for it to come up, because whenever you're doing a demo, it always takes forever. So let's assume I have a user that I need for App Dynamics. Okay, I would click on Assign Users, and you'll notice that it's going to come up with all users and groups. So if I want to go with groups, I just select Groups. It will then show me all of the Active Directory groups that are here. Okay, and if I know a name, I could put it in here and I do a search, you know. Typical, I would then, okay, I want to make these people or operators, I want to make them members, or I can do it at the individual user level. Okay, so for example, I want to click make Dave 5e. We don't have anything configured, but point is that I would then assign Dave to this application, okay? And the same process holds true for all the applications. When you look at other types of applications, and I know I'm running a little bit out of time, and I'm sorry. From a Salesforce perspective, the difference between, let's say, a Salesforce, and again, there's about 50 applications that do it the way that I'm about to show you. They allow for you not only to do authentication, they also allow you to do user provisioning. So when I add a new employee, I add him or her to a group, okay? Then they're automatically, from that group, they're automatically created. So, but if I wanted to assign an additional user, I could do that, okay? And it's very simple. Bang, pick a user, and he's already been assigned. All right, and you'll notice like Andrew Dawkins, who was unassigned. I can assign him, okay? What type of user do I wish him to be, okay? And I could have done this all from a group perspective, which would have negated the step, or do it this way, okay? I hit OK, process is done. Now, that application would then show up on Andrew's waffle, and he could choose to go in. He would have the full access. So we are at 2:51, so we are running out of time. I'm sorry I talk too much sometimes. So let's see, we're going to skip ahead. Now, the other two applications sets, and I'm going to talk to them briefly, that are part of the Enterprise Mobility Suite would be Windows Intune. Okay, Windows Intune, okay, gives you the ability to, as I've talked about a little bit, take full advantage and manage your desktops, as well as managing your mobile devices. Integrate into any kind of on-premise system center investments you may have, etc. So, and long and short of it is the Windows Intune environment that I have. I can log into it. I will show it. I will show it to you. But it is recently. We had fun with it, and we're rebuilding it as we speak. So there's not much in it at the moment. So, and the rights management. I'm going to show you that first, and then I'll go back to Intune. This is an Outlook account. This happens to be my CSG Azure account. Okay, and if I create a new email, okay, based on what I do for the organization, I can be applied or automatically have a rights management policy assigned. Or, like right now, my default is unrestricted, but I have the ability to select or be put in one of these groups based on the data, based on what I'm sending. Yeah, I can speak really well. So if, for example, I want to send an email, and it is now, you'll know, I'm assuming you can see this, champion confidential. These messages, of course, can be customized by you. So if I send a message outside of my organization, as an example, test, and I'll put a file in just for giggles, okay? Give me a file. There's a good file, okay? And I hit send, okay? Of course, I selected a 7 meg presentation, so it'll go out. Won't show up in my Outlook account for a minute or two, but just go. And that was the final warning reminding me that I am sending stuff. I'm breaking security policies out of my organization. And if I log into my Outlook account, I sent one earlier for purposes of this demo. And if I go into my Outlook account and I receive a message from my Azure, okay, this is what the person outside my organization would get, okay? Besides slow pull-up, come on, let's go. Never do a live demo, it always goes slow. So, all right, so basically I'm getting a message that's saying that this message is protected. I can then click on here, authenticate who I am, to be able to look at the content of the message. That's how the end users look at it. And if, for example, I were to put in, like, take screenshots, etc., Microsoft, the rights management, actually puts a black screen over those types of things. So with that, we are at 2:55. I am going to stop, open up the line, see if there's any questions, on the chat. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm happy to see what I can do about answering questions. So let's see if I can click to, all right. For those of you out there, if you have any questions, I see Tom Howard. Let's see, can I Tom Howard, you out there? How about now, Tom, now that I unmuted you?
Hey, is that better?
Yeah, it's me. I had you muted. I had to unmute you. Sorry about that, buddy.
I hate you. Hey, I have a question for you. Let's say the customer wants to, well, he's got Office 365. He wants to roll out EMS for his users for mobility. What would you say, let's say we've got a 300-seat company, 300 employees, what would you say the average deployment time would be for EMS?
Well,
for said customer.
Yeah, I got you. It would really, and of course I'm going to give you the standard engineer answer. It would depend, but realistically speaking, when we do something like that for a couple hundred users, what we typically do, one, is we'll break it down into a smaller 25 or so user group and determine which of the services from EMS we want to start with. Do we want to start with just mobile management, iOS, Droid, Windows Mobile, or are we looking to start with mobility, i.e. those devices, and Azure Active Directory Premium for single point of authentication? Okay, we then develop a list of questions. What applications do we want to focus on? Pick a small number, 3, 4 applications, period. Mobility device, pick a couple of Droids, pick a couple of Windows, pick a couple of iOS if you got them. Focus on those, get them done, and you should be able to have a pilot, proof of concept against 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 devices, 50 devices in 2-3 weeks, okay? And, and it's really, it's that follow on at a later point with rights management. Take my word for it. Don't start with rights management. Follow with rights management and follow with rights management slowly. But the point is the Intune and the Azure Active Directory Premium are amazing and easy to get going and easy to see the value of in a couple of weeks. Okay, the rights management is stuff that requires more time for planning, etc. And like I said, in a couple of weeks you can be up and running and say, and then, okay, we've got it on these 25 or 50. I throw this next 50 or 100 in. It just works, okay, because you've already gone through the learning curve. So I hope that helped.
Hold any bugs out, etc.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, good. And followed on, the rights management is really where you're going to protect your company's data for those on those mobile devices.
Well, the Intune will go a long way towards that. Okay, where RMS is going to add the additional level is when the file gets separated from a device that's managed directly through your environment. Does that make sense? So a file gets moved to a USB stick or for whatever. I'm being very simplistic, but you understand my point.
Right. Definitely, definitely. Ex-employee decides to get back at the company. He can't do it.
That's correct. That's correct. So, thank you, sir. I don't see any other hands out there. Did I bore everybody or no more questions? And I've just explained everything, all problems of the world. If you have any questions, please click on the thingy to raise your hand. Aha. Azar. Sohail. Hello. 1 second. Sohail, how are you this afternoon?
Hello. Good, how are you?
Good. It's Jim Canfield. I hope you're well. What's your question, sir? And we're at 3 o'clock, guys, so if anybody hangs up, I'm not going to take it personal.
Okay. Is this webinar recorded and available to view it again?
Yes, sir, and it will be posted. Everyone who signed up and or participated will get a link from our team either this afternoon or tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but you'll get it. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what if tenants like us that already have rights management implemented, and we have rights management assigned to every user on Office 365?
That's great. All this will do is enhance your capabilities to, it will extend the capabilities of the basic rights management that you get with 365, which basically the limits of that are it only really does the Office files formats. The new rights management will extend it out past that to any file formats, and there are also additional hooks back to Active Directory on-premise.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I need help setting up with the devices and implementation of this, who from Champion should?
Basically, you'll probably end up working with Jason. Todd can get you in touch with him, though.
Okay. Yeah, I was in a meeting with Jason.
Yep.
About our other project.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Sohail. Tristan, and if I screw up on your name, I hope you guys will forgive me. Tristan Warner, you should be unmuted now. Tristan, going once.
Oh, yeah.
There you are.
Hello.
No worries, man.
Hello. Yeah, look, it was just a question about the user accounts. I think you were indicating that some apps you could just have the password saved and others had full SAML integration.
Yes, sir.
So I was just trying to understand with some of those apps that you can save the passwords. And this might be a very basic question, but do you still need to set up those user accounts in that specific application's portal to allow them access to that, or are the user accounts still centrally managed just through Azure Active Directory?
The answer to your question is for example, in Salesforce, it automatically would provision the application, the users in the actual application itself. Okay. Mm-hmm. Those applications like the auto task, for example, and most of the applications that we're using Azure Active Directory Premium for authentication into, you still have to set up the user accounts with application access individually. As the marriages get closer and the ability to do the user provisioning in the more as it extends, then that will go away. But for now, typically you have to go in and set up the accounts first.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm out of hands. So with that, it's 3:03. I hope I didn't bore you all too badly. As I said, the presentation will be published and an email will go out. Let's see, I believe there is at least one more slide. Well, we did that one. And this slide has a number of links if you wish to try Premium, Rights Management, Intune, etc. And as I said, this will go out to you, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.